every time I came to Hawaii, it was really interesting because I had never been somewhere where I felt so comfortable.
You always grew up being the minority among the majority, but now the minority is the majority over here. So it's a dynamic shift.
It always opened up my mind to the fact that my perspective can always be the majority. My majority, and the way I approach storytelling can be with a majority mindset. Listen, like I'm Korean American, and like I've already done a few films for Korean people, like Korean Americans. I think if I just only continue to do that, there's no growth there, and there's not like, I think we can truly start to understand one another if we tell each other stories, because through telling each other stories, we have to learn each other's cultures, and we have to build understanding and love and empathy. So I think that's like the 2.0 of it all.
And this small little Asian kid with a snorkel comes out, just swimming in this by himself. He walks out and we're kind of near, and we're like, "Are you Rich Brian?" He's like, "Yeah." Felina Maikako, welcome to Keep It Aloha, a podcast that keeps it aloha by eating mixed plates and also being a mixed plate. I'm your host Kamaka, and this mixed plate is Ono for a mixed plate. But before we head out for some Ono kind grinds, we have an awesome episode for you today. But before we introduce our guests, I gotta remind you to check out keepitaloha.com to buy some KIA merch. If supporting us with money is not always possible, but you still love this podcast, please consider leaving us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It would mean the world to us. All right, let's introduce our guests. 'Tis the season for giving, and your local Texaco is bringing you 12 days of gifts. At any Texaco in Hawaii, the first 25 customers per day who use the Texaco app to buy 8 gallons or more of fuel between December 11th through December 22nd will receive an exclusive gift. Act fast with gifts like beach totes, mobile speakers, with a free Kimie Minor download, and more. These gifts will go faster than Santa's sleigh. So dash inside with your receipt and discover your special gift. Mele Kalikimaka from Texaco in Hawaii. Our guest today is an actor, writer, and director from California. He came on the scene with his breakout performance in Twilight and has since etched his name in Hollywood with a diverse array of roles that showcase not only his acting skills, but also his commitment to telling stories that resonate with authenticity. He has directed 3 films, with his directorial debut, Gook, winning multiple awards. This husband and father of 2 also co-owns a chain of clothing stores called The Attic. If all this wasn't impressive enough, he was also part of the greatest boy band of all time. No, not BTS, but BGA. Boys Generally Asian. The real ones will know. He has become a trailblazer for the next generation of artists aspiring to make a difference in the world of cinema, and I am so stoked to talk stories with him today. His name is Justin Chon. Aloha, Justin. Welcome to the Keep It Aloha podcast. How you doing?
How's it?
It's so good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too, brother.
Thank you for coming by. It was a quick trip, huh?
Yeah. I just live down the street. So.
Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of your work since the late 2000s. When did Twilight come out? 2007?
2008, I think.
2008?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was when I first saw you. And back then, it's like it's pretty rare to see like Asians in these big Hollywood films. Mm-hmm. So that's why you stood out to a lot of us because, you know, I'm Korean, I'm Japanese. Even though we're here in Hawaii, you know, seeing the representation is just so huge. And then you went on to do some other stuff. And one of the films that we loved in college was 21 and Over.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many times my friends would always make references to that and call each other Jeff Chang.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not even joking.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was a big influence to some of my friends over here. And then recently I just caught up on some of your other films, and it was so cool to see the diversity and how much growth you had from like those early films to now.
Yeah.
Just in the roles you played and how emotional like some of the characters were. So I mean, I'm just big fan. Just you're killing it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, you know, I got into acting, and I wanted to do the roles that you've been watching early on, but like those kind of opportunities just didn't exist. Mm-hmm. So I had to get in by doing a lot of children's television and.
Oh, Wendy Wu too, right?
Yeah. So I did a lot of stuff for like Nickelodeon and Disney because it's for like, frankly, like the only way I can get. And I looked so young that they weren't gonna, you know, give me like dramatic roles. But you know, now I'm like growing into it and and I switched over to writing and directing. So it's been a weird sort of cool journey.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna get into all of it, but I
Yeah.
always like to start at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Where are you from? Where you grad?
Yeah.
And what was it like growing up?
So I was born in Garden Grove, California. Mostly grew up in Irvine, California. I went to University High School, and then for college I went to USC, but I went for business, not for film. And then what was the other question?
And it was it like growing up?
Oh, it was like growing up? It was cool. I mean, I had a pretty interesting childhood. My dad, we mostly grew up in Irvine, but my dad commuted to Paramount, like the border of Compton and Paramount. So it was interesting because it was like a middle-class neighborhood, but everybody else's parents were doing middle-class stuff. My dad was like working in the hood. So it was kind of interesting. But it was like, I think I had a good childhood. I have a younger sister, and she still lives in Irvine with her family. And I spent 2 years in Chula Vista, which is basically Tijuana. It's like on the border of Tijuana and San Diego. From some people's backyards, you can see Mexico.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. But other than that, just normal boyhood. I got into a lot of trouble. I really loved just hanging out with friends, and I wasn't the best studier or anything, but I think I had a lot of good memories with, that was the most important thing for me was hanging out with my friend when I was young.
Yeah, building that camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still really close with the people from your childhood?
Yeah. I'm going back for the holidays because I just had a second kid and my parents haven't seen my kid yet. So I'm going back and I'm going to see all my high school friends. And I've known them all since either elementary, junior high, or high school. We all still hang, keep in touch. And we've stayed friends this whole time.
Awesome.
And that's kind of how it is here in Hawaii, is you have your friends and if you stick around, it seems like everybody knows each other from forever.
Definitely, especially if you're from a small town.
Yeah,
everybody knows everybody. And if you don't, you know somebody that knows somebody.
Yeah.
It's like the 6 degrees of separation, but it's 2 over here.
Yeah.
I mean, as soon as you walked in, we just found out we have a mutual friend. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Hawaii?
It's been 3 years now.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So around the pandemic?
During the pandemic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Basically, I shot a show for Apple, and it was during the pandemic, and I shot in Korea and in Vancouver, Canada. And I just looked at my wife and was like, do you really want to go back to LA? And she was like, no, I not really. And I was like, well, can we give Hawaii a try? Because, I've been coming here since I was born. And she was like, well, she was always against it until then. But then I think because we had a young daughter, she started to feel like, okay, maybe it would be really good for family. So she was like, I would give it a try if we can live somewhere in Oahu, not in Big Island and Kauai, somewhere that I can still walk places. So I can still walk to the grocery store. So that's why we live in Kaka'ako.
Yeah.
But so she gave it a shot, and then so we moved here during the pandemic, and she loves it now. Yeah, we're good.
I mean, it is a great place to raise a family. I mean, when I would always think about, early on in my life, where would I want to raise a family? I couldn't ever imagine raising them anywhere else but Hawaii because of the childhood that I've had.
Yeah.
And just with the culture, respecting others, the diversity. You grow up seeing so many different people.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing, is respecting your elders and respecting other people and respecting other people's cultures, I think is in spades here. And I think that's very important for a kid to learn. And if you don't respect those things in Hawaii, you're not gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
So I think that was really important to me too, because sometimes on the mainland it's that stuff goes out the window sometimes when they start hanging out with certain friends or whatever. But it's so part of the culture here that it's like you don't even give it a second thought. It's just part of life. So I think for kids, it's like the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, I've been to California a few times, and I've talked to like Joji Tsukawa on the podcast about him growing up in California. And it is a lot more territorial over there than it is here, right?
Yeah. Even in high school, I remember people would fight each other from different cities.
That's wild.
And it's like, like, what are you doing? And it'll be people of like, Asian against Asian or whatever. And I think it's kind of silly. Now being an adult, I'm like, what were we doing? But yeah, it's too small here. You can't like be like an asshole and survive here.
Yep,
because it's too small. Like, everybody's like, oh, there goes that asshole,
Yeah, no, everybody's gonna find out. And I think that's something I talked about before with other people, is that you have to be respectful, and you can't do things to people because it's gonna come back around, because like somebody's uncle or auntie or business partner is gonna know about it, and then it's really who you know.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think people don't even think like that either. They're not like, oh, you have to do this. It's just so ingrained over time that it's just like you don't think otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
well,
think
you see other people doing it, so you just follow suit.
Exactly.
It's not something that's said like, hey, you make sure you do this.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, my mom and dad do that. My older siblings do that.
Yeah.
Auntie and uncle does that. So I want to be like them.
Yeah. Even like my daughter, when we go to the beach or something and some other kids come like to where we're hanging out, like she'll start giving food and taking care of like the little ones or that are littler than her. And it's just like already for her just a part of her behavior, because as soon as she got here, like that's how she was treated. And it's not even like we didn't even have to teach her that. Like just being generous and loving and accepting. So for me, I mean, that's as a parent, you can't ask for more.
Yeah. It's awesome too, because it's not just Hawaiian culture. It's a mix of the local culture.
Yes.
That, is Asian and Hawaiian. I mean, majority Asian, you got the Japanese, Chinese, Filipinos, Koreans, all of that.
Yeah.
So it's so cool how there's a lot of overlap between the different cultures. I mean, like taking off slippers.
Yeah.
Respecting elders.
Yeah. I love that. It's like, you don't have to ask somebody to take off their shoes. It's just like, if you didn't, that would be like sacrilegious,
Yeah. Did you take off your shoes when you were living in California? Or
yes.
Would you?
Yeah, but you'd have to ask your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
Here, it's like, no, that's like the norm first. And if anyone didn't, it would be like, bruh, what are you doing,
Yeah. Well, did you call it flip-flops before? Have you transitioned to slippers?
Slippers.
That's the big question.
I call them slippers.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's what's beautiful is even all the Asian cultures. I mean, from Asia, Hawaii was one of the first places people stopped before going to, whether it's like San Francisco or so even, I'm Korean, but even Korean people have such a long history here. And all the other Asians have such a long history here that it's like, it's become so, like you're saying, integrated that it's no thing. It's not like it's like so accepted and everybody loves each other. And even the food, everything's just kind of like become integrated and it's like its own cuisine in a way. Just like with the flavor of this or a flavor of that. So I love that.
And it's funny, as I get older, I realize some things are very specific to Hawaii that's not normal in other places, like meat jun.
Yeah.
I always thought it was like this Korean food that everybody loves. Yeah. I remember going, it was actually in Madagascar. So I lived in Madagascar for 2 years. And there's this Korean spot that opened up in the capital. And this guy straight from Korea, he was running it, and I was just so excited because I was like, oh, Asian food.
Yeah.
I'm so stoked, and I love meat jun.
Yeah.
So I'd go and I connected with him really quickly. And I kept asking him for meat jun, and I was trying to explain it to him and show it. He's like, and But I think he got the idea of it, and then he tried to make it for me one time. But then soon after that, I realized that it wasn't like a Korean thing.
Yeah.
It's a Hawaii Korean thing.
Hawaii, It's like because it's like a mix between like pajeon, which is like a deep fried with battered like vegetables or squid, but like like there's like a special like Hawaiian way of making it with like meat, and it's so good. But it's not, you can't find that even in California. Yeah.
So what was your first impression of Hawaii, or actually before even coming here? What did you think of Hawaii? Like, what was the idea of Hawaii in your mind?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think it was my dad's goal to live here too. He lives here half the year, but we were coming here since I was born. I mean, I have a younger sister, so we would come at least once a year. So I think coming here, at first, my idea of Hawaii was just somewhere I go with my family and somewhere that's like magical and beautiful and has these incredible sort of like, beaches that we play at with the kids. And then I started getting older, and it was more of like, I got into junior high and high school come less. And then it became just somewhere that I'd like to go for peace. I'd like to go, to relax. And then what was it? Oh, and then I ended up dating a girl for a while that is a local girl, and she went to McKinley and whatever. So I would come here for her and hang out with her and her family, and that was nice. And then I, it's a weird thing, is like I just always gravitated towards Hawaii and trying to find a way that I could live here and work here. So, that's when I shot like my first movie with Kev Jumba, that YouTuber. And we shot that film here with a local company. And that was awesome because I got to experience it like work-life situation. But, I think as I've gotten older, Hawaii is like a place of healing. It's really, while I've been here the last 3 years, and even every time I come here, it's always giving me the space and the positive energy for me to kind of really do soul searching and think about like the things that matter in my life, or what the kind of person I want to be. And for some reason, this place gives me that space. I don't know why. But I think that, the more I learn about the islands and the people, it's like I feel like there's a reason for that. It really is truly like the Hawaiian people and the culture, and because without the people, I don't think that special sort of vibe or aloha even exists. So, I don't know. I really come to respect and love Hawaii. So, that's what's come to mean to me.
Yeah. And one of our past guests said, Hawaii isn't beautiful because of like the oceans, the mountains. I think it's beautiful because of the people.
It is.
And
yeah.
I think, when you talk about healing, just being away from, especially coming from California, LA, or wherever, Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's just, there's so much going on. I mean, even we're in the city right now, Kakako, there's buildings around us, but there's still nature.
Yeah.
And we're 5 minutes away from the beach. 5-minute walk from the beach. So you're always close to some sort of nature. And I think that has a lot to do with just humans in general, because we're supposed to be outside.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be trapped in these concrete
Yeah.
boxes. So I think when people come to Hawaii and they're finding the healing, I think it's really just getting closer to nature.
Yes.
And what's more innate and primitive as humans to us.
Yeah. And that's the thing that's so interesting about like my daughter, is she doesn't know any different because she was so young when she came here. And so she's already adopted sort of that idea of being outdoors or whatever. And even the other day, she's like, I'm not gonna wear my shoes. And I go, okay. So we went all around town and did this and that. And she just feels comfortable like that, and she just feels so comfortable being outside. And, so I think yeah, I truly I agree with you. It's just like it is the people and it is being connected to nature and there's no way around it in Hawaii unless if you just like stay in your house all day.
Yeah, you just play
Yeah.
video games all day on Twitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool. So your family's integrated, they're loving it here.
Yeah.
You're loving it here. How
Yeah.
long do you plan to stay here?
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
This is home?
This is home. It's always it took me a long time to figure out how to make it home because there was always like if you're not born and raised here, it's really hard to find a way to make it work for you in terms of like financially because that's one thing, you know, Hawaii's it's a difficult place to make money, you know, and it's a difficult place and it's become so expensive and you know, it's a shame, but it took me a while to figure out a way that I could sustain myself and exist here. But fortunately, like I think I've figured out a situation where I can. But we're you know, this will always be home base for me. Yeah.
So you get work, you fly out, you come back.
Yeah, or I try to find as much work here that I can that I believe in. You know, I think I try to be very careful about the projects I do here because I do want to choose wisely and make sure that whatever I do film in Hawaii is serving Hawaii. But I do try to find like, is there any way I can, and it makes sense for something to be here. So that allows me to be home.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like back and forth, like, you know, and I'll go to LA once every few months to do meetings or whatever. But I mean, it's been pretty chill. It's not like, you know, it's not like that big of a deal. It's just it's nonstop, you know?
Yeah, but it keeps you busy.
Yeah. But the other thing is like being here in Hawaii, like, you know, I was going like this year I was going to Aotearoa like back and forth and it's just like it's like nonstop. Or I went to Korea, Taiwan, all direct flights. Like it's pretty incredible. Like the access you have here in Hawaii too, also to like Asia and that part of the world. So
yeah, anytime you go west,
yeah. So that's been wonderful.
Yeah. And speaking of Aotearoa, I don't know how much you can talk about it, but you actually worked on an upcoming series, right?
Yeah. I worked on a series called Chief of War, and
I'm sure everybody's familiar with listening to this.
Yeah, and it's with Jason Momoa, and it's about this Chief of War named Kaiana. Yeah, it's his story. It's based, you know, through you know, historical facts and set in the late 1700s, like mostly pre-contact. It's after Cook, but like pre, like real sort of like
the monarchy.
Yeah. But yeah, so we shot a bunch of it here, and then we shot a bunch of it in Aotearoa, and beautiful. Like I'm so thankful I was a part of that because we're still doing it, but I'm so thankful I'm a part of it because, you know, especially living here now, it gave me an opportunity to really like deep dive and learn and be surrounded by it all.
What would you say is the one thing you learned from Hawaii?
How advanced like Hawaiians actually were, like, you know, with the olelo, like with the language and with like, you know, like the infrastructure and just like some of the incredible feats they were able to accomplish, you know, like even Kamehameha and like the structure he built on the Big Island and like how like they had to bring stones from like so many miles away, and it's just like, you know, and some of the stuff you're like, how did they do that? And it was so like complex in terms of like the culture. Like it was like, because I think there is this misconception from anyone outside thinking about Hawaiian people and it's like indigenous, and they think like, but it's very much like so thought through, and everything is like there's such a process to everything, and it's very complex. But like there's no way I could learn that without being surrounded by it. and everything has a meaning, and even just the language is like so beautiful. And yeah, you just like when you hear people speaking to each other, like just full on like long conversations, you're like, Jesus, this like sounds so incredible. But you rarely get to hear that.
Yeah, I think we're in the middle of a renaissance, and
Yeah.
it's the trajectory is going really high because I'm in like the second decade of the Hawaiian immersion schools because I went Hawaiian immersion school.
Oh,
And I
nice.
speak Hawaiian with my dad. But ever since I left in like the 2010 era, like just from that point to now, 13 years later, it has grown so much. Like when I was
Yeah.
at school, it was like 100 students from kindergarten to 12th grade. Now there's over 500 students at that one school.
That's
and
awesome.
There's a lot of Hawaiian immersion schools all
Yeah.
over the
Yeah.
state.
And I think that renaissance is pretty like it's evident because there's people who went through that sort of schooling, and then now they only speak to their children in Hawaiian, and that's they speak English, but like the children speak English, but like their primary language is Hawaiian. And that's like it's a beautiful thing to see because it feels like they tried to like stomp it out like for so long, and it's like it just shows how like the mana, the spirit has stayed strong, and like it was like not able to be like extinguished.
Yeah, well, we're resilient people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For your home culture, was Korean part of that?
Yes. Yeah. So like growing up, I spoke Korean with my parents, and it was kind of the same thing where there was other Korean parents telling my parents like, you should only speak English in the house, like you should, because it'll be better for their like survival and for them to assimilate into American culture. My parents were always like, they'll learn English.
Exactly. It's everywhere.
Yeah. It's like impossible for them not to learn English. I think them learning a second language, like for free, they don't even have to think about it, is probably gonna be more advantageous for them. So I mean, we were punished in home if we spoke English.
Oh wow.
So I'm very thankful for that because that's why me and my sister can speak Korean.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just know 안녕하세요, 미준주세요.
Yeah.
감사합니다.
The essentials. Yeah, essential stuff.
Yeah, because my grandma's 50% Korean, so she should make kimchi and stuff like that. And she was like total. She was I don't know. I think she was Hawaiian Korean something. I'm not sure, but like she looked Korean. She always had her like I don't know what it was, like the band and like the skincare and like the long dress or whatever. So that's what I remember of my grandma.
But that's what I love about Hawaii is like it's all so mixed that it's just like you can't. How are you gonna be like racist to someone if you're part that?
Yeah.
So I love it. Like I meet so many people that you're like, wait, so like what's your grandma and what's your mom, what's your dad? And it's just like everybody's so mixed that it's you have to be accepting.
That's why growing up, I think Hawaii in particular, comedy was just all the racial jokes.
Yeah.
All the Portuguese jokes, the Chinese jokes, the Filipino jokes, which you can't really say these days anymore because people are more sensitive to that. But it's just because there was it was a melting pot, and the person making the jokes, they were like 3 to 5 of those ethnicities anyways. So you could make the jokes and get away with it.
Yeah. And it seems like those kind of racist jokes probably weren't predatory. It's like
Definitely
literally
not.
because it's just like you're pointing out things and you're just having, a laugh about like what is stereotypical, but it's some of it's kind of true.
Yeah.
And you just but it's there's a difference between like it's almost like inclusive actually, rather than trying to be exclusive.
It's a good perspective.
Because it's like you're including everybody by being able to like laugh and joke about differences. But like on the mainland, sometimes it's like, it's actually trying to be like predatory and hurtful because you're other. But here it's like, no, like come.
Yeah. So if you're not included in the racial joke, you're like, hey, what about mine?
Yeah. Or you'll do it yourself. You say, it's like nobody asked you.
Who's that guy over there?
Yeah.
That's a really interesting perspective. I didn't think of it like that.
Let me ask you this: like, what do you think about like when I say like the mainland or Like, because I think there's some, people who dislike that too. How do you feel about that?
Well, so the thing I hear about that is Hawaii is our mainland.
Yes, yeah.
But it's one of those things where you just grow up saying it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you're so accustomed to just using mainland, mainland, mainland.
Yeah.
But a lot of the different things, say you grew up saying Hawaii, you're always going to say Hawaii,
Yeah.
Hawaii, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I think it's just different ways. I don't think anything is wrong or right. I see the perspective. I try to say like continent or outside of Hawaii just because like I don't want to offend anybody these days with the mainland. So I understand it because Hawaii is our mainland. But I don't know. I think so if I said mainland, it just comes out naturally.
Yeah.
My intention isn't saying like, oh, that's the mainland. Like I'm not looking at it like that. I'm just saying it as like that's outside of Hawaii.
Yeah.
So I think context is important.
Yeah.
So for me, I think it's gonna take time for people to transition to new words.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me when people say mainland versus continent or something because it all comes down to education at the end of the day. You know, if nobody ever told you not to say mainland, you're just gonna keep saying mainland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody has told me not to say it, but I've heard the perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm always interested, like, because I want to know.
Yeah.
I want to know because the more informed I am, I can choose my behavior a certain way that I feel is appropriate. But so I ask because I've heard that perspective and some people aren't cool with it.
Yeah, well, thanks for asking. I think that's a great thing to ask. I think it comes down to like, not an intention, but just being aware. Like, at least you're aware. You're conscious of it.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe when you say you're always gonna think like, oh, should I try to switch it to continent? But continent sounds weird.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like to me. That like all these other stuff like Big Island, Hawaii Island. I grew up saying Big Island because that's what we always called it.
Yeah.
Now they're saying it's Hawaii Island.
Yeah.
So, but I'm always gonna say Big Island because it's like I don't know, it's almost like nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
Which mainland isn't very like nostalgic to me.
Yeah.
But it's just like I said, something that I'm so used to saying.
Yeah.
So maybe sometimes I'll switch the words here and there, but it's honestly just gonna come out naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I mean, that's been one of the most sort of fascinating things for me being here is just learning the history and learning what matters and what people, the Hawaiian people, what is important to them in terms of identity and moving forward, how that's evolving and what they want to preserve or what they want to shed. And that's truly fascinating.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you're here in Hawaii where identity and like cultural identity specifically is super big and it's a hot topic these days in social media. We're all talking about it in movies. And the movies that you're making are touching upon these subjects which are really cool. Did you get a lot of inspiration from Hawaii, like being here to make some of these movies? Or, you always had that kind of outlook and perspective, like you wanted to touch upon these cultural identities?
Well, I mean, I couldn't avoid the fact that I was Asian American living in California. And there's just marked differences with the way I look and some of my counterparts. And so also my dad working where he worked, it was like, it was mostly Hispanic and Black, and there's that sort of difference in how do you come to terms and be able to try to be a part of the community. But I will say that, every time I came to Hawaii, it was really interesting because I had never been somewhere where I felt so comfortable.
Well, you always grew up being the minority among the majority, but now the minority is the majority over here. So it's like it's a dynamic shift.
Yes. So that always made me think like, well, it always opened up my mind to the fact that my perspective can always be the majority, my majority, and the way I approach storytelling can be with a majority mindset. So, my narratives tend to revolve around, ethnic characters and specifically, AAPI, which is why, something like Chief of War was really something I was like, okay, this is worth fighting for and working on and really giving my blood, sweat, and tears to, is because, a lot of people forget about the PI part of AAPI. It's always Asian American, but like I feel like terrible that sometimes Pacific Islanders or Indigenous, they're not included in the Pacific because there's just more visibility from Asian Americans. But like being here, I think I'm like, okay, like this is the majority mindset. I think is really has motivated me to tell my own stories and from my perspective. So and I'm still figuring it out. I mean, and I'm figuring out what matters to me. And does it have to have AAPI characters? Like I'm getting to a point now where I don't think so. It's really my perspective and the story channeling through me. I think even that is like an AAPI like majority mindset and how that filters into like a super Western narrative. There's a lot of ways to think about it, but I do think that seeing how people live here, it's like, I hear it all the time. Somebody, grew up here and then they go to, the mainland and they feel like a little confused or whatever, but because they're like there's racism, but like it's not like that kind of racism. So they're like kind of confused. They're like, I never felt like marginalized ever. And that's a blessing because you don't have that chip on your shoulder and you have that confidence. So I think that there's a certain mentality here. I also think that sometimes people that come from Hawaii go to like a big city and that's why they can be really successful, is because they don't have that sort of inferiority complex because they've always been the majority. It's another reason like I really love my kids growing up here because they'll never feel like they're other, but yeah, it's an interesting sort of perspective, because I think we are in a time, identity is like a big deal, like whether it's gender identity, race identity, but I think it's also a beautiful thing because at least for the racial identity stuff, it's making us really go back and learn our own cultures and examine where we come from and hold on to what we feel is valuable.
Yeah, and I think always looking back to go forward is always a good thing. I mean, our ancestors, our kupuna, they had all the answers. Like you said, they were innovative and they were beyond their years already. So it's kind of just like always there's a saying, nana ike kumu, like look to the source. And kumu, it means a lot of things. It means teachers, it means source, it could mean the foundation. So a lot of multiple meanings behind that.
And why wouldn't you? I mean, it's like, like history, the tradition and knowledge always gets passed down. And it's like, if you're not learning from your elders, it's like, you just, I think, being very blind. Because it's like, why wouldn't you take the cheat code to life?
Well, you got the blueprint, right?
Yeah. It's like negating that is foolish.
And also, talking about the good, like, okay, they did it this way, but maybe they didn't do one of these things the best, and you can just improve upon that. But you have the right answers, you have the wrong answers. Or you don't even have to look at it like right or wrong. It's just perspectives. At least you have multiple perspectives.
And you can make the choice, at least you individually, that you feel is right.
So how do you decide what story you want to tell when you're directing? Because you just started directing in 2017.
Well, Man Up was the first one, and that was like that was like, I don't know, 2013 or something.
Throwback.
And then Gook, I directed, I think 2016. It came out in 2017. 2015 or 2016. But I've done. So now I've done, if you include Man Up, I've done Man Up, Gook, Miss Purple, Blue Bayou, and then Jamujaya, the one I
Oh yeah, I really want
Yeah,
to watch
yeah.
that. Is that streaming anywhere? I was trying to look it up.
No, I haven't. We haven't found a distributor yet.
Okay.
But and I shot that here too.
Yeah, funny story about that. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 2021, I think. 2021. Is that, were you guys filming in 2021? 2022?
I think so. Yeah, I think 2021.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
anyways, so my friend from Hilo, one of my best friends, he was about to propose to his girlfriend, and so we had this whole plan going on. It was 2021, I think. So
Wait, were you the one on the beach? Were you guys on the beach in front of the house?
Oh, you remember?
Yeah, I remember. And then she was proposing, and then like we were like, "Hey, you want some? We can take some pictures for you." I forgot what happened,
I'm not sure. Oh, okay, it might have been somebody else, but basically,
is it Waimanalo?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think Kiona Beach is what they call it. But
Yeah.
So basically, it was so random. So one of the part of the plan was my friend was gonna go earlier with somebody else and kind of like scope it out, see what the right area. And me and a couple other people, we had to go get the fiance, like our friend Alyssa, because they flew in from Hilo or something like that. So we had to trick her that we were just gonna have like a beach there, just take photos or something.
Yeah.
So we go there, and as we're going there, I get a call from my friend Chad, and I'm like, oh my god, he's probably really nervous, trying to ask her advice. He's like, Kumaka. I'm like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? No, yeah, I'm totally cool. But I think I see Rich Chigga. And now he's called Rich Brian, right?
Yeah.
And we're like, what?
Yeah.
You're like, I'm on the beach. I swear this is Rich Chigga. So we're like, oh, that's so random.
Yeah.
So we go there. And he proposes, and then we're just chilling over there. And this small little Asian kid with a snorkel comes out, just swimming in just by himself. And then he comes, and then he walks out, and we're kind of near, and we're like, "Are you Rich Brian?" He's like, "Yeah." And he just walks in. We're like, "What the heck?" That's so random. And then we're talking to the security outside. We're like, "What are they doing?" He's like, "Oh, we're filming a movie."
Yeah.
And then like later on, I realized that I guess news came out that it was that movie.
Yeah.
And he was starring in it. And super random.
No, I remember you guys there at the beach. I remember and I thought like we cheered for you guys or something. I forget. Like because it was I think it was Waimanalo, and we were shooting at that house on the beach.
Yeah, you guys had a house right on the beach.
Yeah, it's like it's right next to the house that Obama built.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Where the fish pond is.
Yeah, the fish pond. But I remember that. I remember that like
so
that
funny.
Someone was getting proposed to on the beach.
Yeah, that was us.
That was
what
awesome.
A small world.
Yeah.
Right?
See, that's why you got to be Pono, man. You can't be like, being rude to people because it's like so small.
Yeah, it was so funny because I saw him. I literally. I thought that it was just like a kid from Kalani High School or something.
Because he looks like that.
Yeah. Because like I listen to his music and I see his music videos. And he's great. I mean, couple of his songs I got on my liked on Spotify. But just like seeing him, I didn't realize he was like so small and just like normal looking.
Yeah.
And it's crazy because like when you meet like celebrities and like I talk with people on the podcast, they're just normal people and like they look normal sometimes too, just like that.
And I think that's why, I don't know, I can't speak for Brian, but it seemed like he liked Hawaii because of that, because he blended right in.
Totally.
Because he looks like he could be local, just like walking around. Even in Waikiki, nobody would bother him. I was like, oh, okay. So like, dude, that is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever talked to him. You gotta tell him that story. It was just so funny. Like the most randomest thing ever.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. Yeah, but man.
Talk about that movie because it looks really interesting.
That movie, we went to Sundance with it last year. Like independent film is it's been pretty tough. It's kind of dying. It's really, there's not like a big market for it, and the streamers don't really want to purchase those films unless they're very like broad, like a romantic comedy or something, or like, so these sort of more artistic, pure expressions are hard to kind of get funding for and get sold to like get distributed. But I got that one off the ground and I filmed it, and basically it's about an Indonesian father and son, and the son is a rapper from Indonesia. It's loosely based on Brian's life, but it's just like certain aspects, but it's totally not him. Mm-hmm. And he's about to blow up, and his dad is his manager, and it's like it's like a breakup story between father and son. And it happens in Hawaii, and it's part of the narrative because his dad is like, why did you decide to record your album here? And the dad is also says, I know why. It's because it reminds you of home, right? And in Indonesia, in the United States, there's only really two places that banyan trees grow: Florida and Hawaii. And I think banyan trees are like invasive though, right? It's not like indigenous.
No, yeah.
Yeah, so like banyan trees, what they do is that the roots grow and they kill like things around them, right? So like the metaphor is like the banyan tree is like basically represents a father, right? It's like the by trying to live and trying to, you know, and the whole story starts off with an Indonesian folktale about this prince that gets poisoned and becomes a banyan tree, and then the brother turns himself into a bird and flies from banyan tree to banyan tree trying to find his brother. And in the story, you find out that the father and son lost a brother and a son.
Wow.
So
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, but spoiler alert. Yeah, I don't even know if it'll ever come out, but
Okay.
but that's, you know, it'll come out. But you know, I felt like, again, talking about how Hawaii, you know, when I was writing the story, I just was like, what's appropriate for Hawaii? And I felt like the aspect of healing, you know, and like this father and son, they need to grieve and they need to heal. And there's aspects of being transplanted too, like coming from Indonesia and transplanted. There's this idea of like, even within Hawaii, they feel like, are they supposed to be there or not? So I felt like Hawaii was really appropriate, you know? But that's what that film's about. And, you know, I really want to, I want to shoot as many movies as I can here, but I really want to tell stories that feel authentic and like have the essence of Hawaii, so that when people that are local watch it, they feel like there's some sort of like affinity or like a connection to the film. Because I feel like forever, when you look at anyone who films here, it's just a setting and location. And it's like the idea of taking rather than giving. And I think we're at a time now in storytelling that we have the resources and we have the talent, and that doesn't need to be the case anymore. You know, there's so many incredible local filmmakers that I think are so talented that are already doing it. You know, he had Alika, you know, do you know, he did a film called Every Day in Kaimuki. It went to Sundance. It's a local film.
I think might have seen the trailer. What's the last name? Alika what?
What's his name? It starts with T.
Alika T. Okay.
But Alika, incredibly talented filmmaker, and from what I heard, like he's editing a second film.
Nice.
I think it's called Molokai Bound.
Okay. Cool.
And then you know, you have Chris Yogi. You know, he did that movie A Simple Man. I think that's what it's called, right? And then, you know, you have Chris Kahuanahana. You know,
just met him recently.
Yeah, he has that film Waikiki. But like, I feel like there's this, you know, there's a renaissance of like Hawaiian culture. I think there's also a renaissance of like local filmmaking and Hawaiian filmmaking. But if I'm here and I'm gonna make films, I can't like be like destructive. I have to be holistic about even the art I make here. So I'm trying to look for things that I feel like people can watch and be like, yes, that feels like it feels like Pono. It feels like this is meant to be, not like, you know, you see these weird comedies like Along Came Polly or, you know, fucking
Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Yeah, that shit is like, yeah, anyone, you could have shot that anywhere.
Stage.
Yeah.
51st Stage is legendary here though.
Yeah. No, I mean, you know, and but like, you know, like they go shoot at Turtle Bay or whatever, like, and it's like,
it's very touristy. It's geared for tourists. Yeah,
and it's like, I think that's a missed opportunity, like to really like educate the world about what Hawaii is, or like, you know, the spirit of Hawaii and the history, or like, you know, the local people. Like, it's always like, you know, Hawaiians in like the movies is like The Help.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly.
And I think like, why does that need
at the hotel? Or
yeah.
Sup, bro? Welcome to Waikiki.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it's a good time for storytelling here too, I think.
Yeah, but it also shows just like the generational difference. Like all those movies that we referenced was like years ago.
Yeah.
And now we're more conscious of these things and sharing the representation properly.
Yes. And there's like a sensitivity and, you know, a desire to have authenticity that wasn't existent before.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, it's so cool to hear that you're like very aware of these things and you're trying to, you know, do what's pono.
Yeah, and I live here, so I don't want to get beat down in the street.
Yeah, exactly. Like the beginning of Gook, I just watched it. But that would never happen here just because you're Asian. If anything, it would be more about a haole thing. But so I did want to ask you about the word Gook, because we have the word haole.
Yeah.
So right in the beginning of the movie, it has a definition. It's like a derogatory term for East Asian, Southeast Asian.
Yeah.
So did you get that idea from the word haole? Or, I mean, you probably knew that word a long time ago, right?
Yeah. So haole, of course I knew that word. And you know, there's, and, you know, friends would tell me like there was like beat up haole day, like go beat up on white people. And like, you know.
I don't know if that's true. I hear it all the time too, but I never...
You know,
that wasn't my generation.
Yeah, it was like probably a long time ago, right?
So I don't know if there's a rumor or if it actually happened. I don't know anybody who actually got beat up. That's why.
Yeah, and I don't think that's right either, you know. But Gook. So like, you know, in the movie I do end up explaining it. Like once you watch like a little bit
don't
further.
Don't spoil it because I'm only halfway through.
Yeah.
Okay,
so like, but basically, it's an actual word in Korean, you know, and it means country. So like 미국 is America. That means beautiful country, right? And like 한국 is
beautiful.
Yeah, 한국 is Korea, and you know, like 영국 is England. It also means soup. You know how like certain characters can mean different things? It also means soup. And American GI, this is the rumor also, is like American GIs would come during the Korean War and they'd be like, 미국 사람. So they'd take 미국 and they said, oh, you're a Gook.
Okay.
So that's how it became, and then they carried that over to the Vietnam War and start calling Vietnamese people Gooks, right? But it's like taking a word that is like belonged to us and making it into a racial slur. And so with the purpose of Gook, the film, was take that word back, right? And it's also like explaining, educating like what that word actually means, because then it takes all the power away from the word. But you know, in terms of like haole, like we all know that's not a bad word, you know, but like it's like also intention. How do you use it? And
anything can be derogatory if the way you say it.
Yeah. So Gook, it's like it's not a bad word. It's like how you're the intention, the way you're using it. So
that's so cool.
Yeah. So like I mean, but that's what I want to do in the films. You know, I want to like. It's an easy way to what I call like sneaking the medicine, you know, like it's a way to like sneak some medicine while also entertaining people, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I was able to see that correlation really quickly and with Gook and Howland.
Yeah.
I didn't get to the point where I hear it a lot. I see it was written on your car. But yeah, I'm excited to finish it later tonight. Because that's like, haole is a word that we talk about all the time, and we think it's derogatory. People think it's just white person. You know, there's a lot of different meanings. There's misconceptions, and there's also like wrong definitions as well. Like a lot of people break up ole without breath, but that's just like something made up.
Yeah.
What I've learned. But the fact that, you know, we have these words in a lot of other cultures as well.
Yeah.
Same with Madagascar, the word vaza, which is they use for foreigner or haole, whatever. My host mom calls me her Zanaka Vaza, which is like the vaza kid, the Gook kid, the haole kid. You know? I'm like, because that's what I am over there. I'm a haole.
Yeah.
Here I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, if I went to Korea, I would be a Gook.
Yeah.
So, and then, like you say, it just comes down to the intention and your heart behind it.
Yeah. So, you know, I mean, that's what's fascinating about like humanity is all these differences and, you know, learning about each other's cultures and you know, I mean, that's why Hawaii is so beautiful. It's like such a melting pot. But also what's beautiful is like how long it's it's been even amongst Asian cultures that like, it's like now it's like, you call someone like, oh, mama-san or whatever. It's like, you know exactly what that is, but that's there's a long history to that too, and, so I don't know. I feel very welcome here and I feel like very much, a guest that's, welcome, but like, I also want to do my part to make sure that I earn my keep, that I'm not just like taking from the land and not giving anything back. So I don't know, like I'm, especially with like a show like Chief of War, I was like, I really try to be super diligent about like the cultural stuff and making sure like in triple checking, quadruple checking certain things so that like as much as was within my power, things won't fall between the cracks. But no matter what, like you're gonna piss off some people.
Yeah.
I'm already prepared, like you cannot like there's no one solution that's gonna satisfy everybody, and I'm aware of that. But like I really am trying and did try, to make sure that like we honor the culture. But that show I'm really excited about because I don't think people have been able to see Polynesians like shown on screen like that, in that major way. And that's,
And they speak Hawaiian in the...
Yeah, they speak Hawaiian. So like so I directed the first 2 episodes and they're entirely in Hawaiian. So that was really interesting because we did rehearsals and I would watch them rehearse in Hawaiian and, have the script. And then it was really interesting getting to like direct in their native language, right? And that's like so cool. But no one's seen that. No one has seen that.
I'm excited. I heard a lot of good things about it.
I mean, you see like, it feels like, Maori culture, because they have such a like deep like film culture over there that's like a little bit, like been going on a little longer. So like it seems like they have seen some stuff, but like what I love about this show is because you have someone like Jason, it's on such a massive scale. And I think but what's crazy is you watch it and it just fits like a glove. It's not like foreign, right? It just feels like it should be, and I think that's always, I think the goal, at least on my part, is whatever culture I'm like portraying, that it feels like you're just watching people exist and live. But I think I'm excited.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Oh, I'm excited too. I was in Georgia for a couple months ago, filming this TV show, and like a game show. And one of the contestants that was on with me was the brother of the guy who helped write Chief of War with Jason.
Was Thomas Sabet's brother?
No. This is Kimo Kepano.
Oh, Kimo.
So he was in Aotearoa too. He was like he's like a not a sidekick, but like a spiritual something. But his brother was one of the writers or something.
Oh, nice,
like
nice.
So he was telling me a lot about it.
Yeah.
So it just made me really excited. And he said they need a lot more Hawaiians to go out for the roles as well because they had to borrow some of the Maori people.
Yeah, Maori. And that's the thing is like I think hopefully, as the industry grows here and stuff, like, there's avenues and programs built for more indigenous Hawaiian like artists to have a way to train and have more exposure to the industry, so there's more like Hawaiian actors, because that's the thing is like, it's like there's not a lot yet. So I hope it continues to grow. I know like Brian Keolana and Angie, they're trying to create some programs for like workshops and acting workshops and stuff like that. But I think I'm definitely interested to help out too. So I think it's hopefully sooner than later, faster.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? Yeah.
And like I said before, people are aware of it. Even like the actors playing the Hawaiian roles. Like I hosted the HIF Awards.
Yeah.
And Cliff Curtis was being honored over there.
Yeah.
And in his speech, I don't know if you heard it or saw a clip of it. He said that his what he wants is to be obsolete.
Yes.
So that he doesn't have to play these indigenous roles other than his own.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
his speech was so good.
I love Cliff.
Yeah.
I love Cliff. And he's such a pillar in Aotearoa, you know. And for the Maori people, he's like an OG.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's OG, him and Tim Weta. You know, they're Tim and him are like OGs. But yeah, no, that's incredible. Like, listen, like I'm Korean American, and like I think I've already done a few films for Korean people, like Korean Americans. I think if I just only continue to do that, there's no growth there, and there's not like I think we can truly start to understand one another if we tell each other stories, because through telling each other stories, we have to learn each other's cultures, and we have to build understanding and love and empathy. So I think that's like the 2.0 of it all.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good perspective. It's like learning a language or like traveling somewhere.
Yeah.
You learn about their culture.
Yeah.
While doing that.
Yeah.
Huh. That's really good.
Yeah. So I just hope that people are, you know, open to that, you know, open like, you know, so when something like Chief of War comes out, that people go, oh, it's not all like the creators aren't all like, but yes, of course there's something about like FUBU, like for us, by us, like, but you know, just having a little bit of open mind that like there are people who want to learn too.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So
hey, we gotta be inclusive.
yeah.
We say kako, not mako.
Yeah.
All of us inclusive. Okay, let's take a quick shishi break and we'll be right back with the social media fan questions.
Okay, sweet.
Immerse yourself in the underwater wonders of Hawaii's marine life with Hawaii Ocean Charter's hands-on guided snorkeling tours. Whether it's your first time falling in love with Waikiki or you're rediscovering its beauty just like me, there is no better way to see it than from the ocean. Personally, it was one of the best things I have done this year. I got to snorkel with some turtles and fishes, and I was able to catch the coolest sunset over the water. Conveniently located in Kaka'ako with online booking and live availability, finding the perfect day on the water couldn't be easier with them. Ride in style on their unique and well cared for power catamaran that offers all the amenities you need. Locally owned and operated, their friendly crew lives for sharing their love for the ocean with others. Sunset cruises, guided snorkeling tours, whale and dolphin watching, coastal sightseeing, and fireworks shows are among the tours their guests love the most. Use code KIA50 to get $50 off of your next charter. All right, we're back from a quick shishi break. Mahalo to our drink sponsor, Shaka Tea, for providing the best quality shishi in town. Which I was saying off the podcast, I'm learning Japanese, and I'm learning hiragana, like spelling. So I learned what she is, and then one of the tests was she, and I was like, oh, cool, like P. But then instead it means lion. So I don't know how. Maybe there's multiple meanings.
Yeah.
Or maybe awesome. I don't know why we're saying we got to go lion.
Yeah.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of connection. But anyways, okay. I know you got to get going. So
That's all good.
Let's get into the social media fan questions presented by Texco in Hawaii, okay? First question comes from past podcast guest and our good friend Nainoa Langer. He's a great local filmmaker.
Oh, wow.
He said he was a big fan, so he told me to ask you this question. Was directing always a goal for him when he first started acting? What does he enjoy more?
So directing, I remember early on writing was something that I was interested in, but it felt like an impossibility. And directing even felt even more. I remember one time my dad, we were having a conversation and he's like, and I started acting maybe only like 4 years. And he's like, why don't you think about directing? You know, that seems like it could be cool, like transition. And I was like, are you crazy, Dad? That's like impossible. That's like, it's such a, do you understand how hard that is? And like for me, like not having any training so it just felt like something that wasn't within my grasp. And then acting for so long, like being on so many sets, foolishly, I thought, oh yeah, how hard could it be? I see them doing all the time, blah, blah, blah. And when I shot Man Up, I was like, dude, this is hard. So I was like, I'll never do it again. But then, you kind of have amnesia a little bit and you're like, okay, I'll try it again. But it wasn't my goal when I set out to do, because I had a limited view of what I was capable of. But I think that's something that I've realized over time is, man, we are so much more capable than we understand of so many things. So
Yeah. Just
yeah.
push past your limits.
Yes, always.
Yeah. Sometimes they don't even exist.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. And so what do you enjoy more?
Just creation. I don't like if like acting, writing, helping other people, producing, like it's all helping the creative process. I don't have ego about it. Like I have to be on screen or I have to be. Nah, it's just fun. Like for me, it was always like filmmaking is such a group sport. It was always fun just getting together with all these people and like messing around and trying to do this thing. It's, if you think about it, it's pretty stupid. It's just like a bunch of people like getting together, filming people like pretend to do stuff.
Make believe, right?
Yeah. It's like, what are you doing, bro? When you see like someone who's like 65 years old, like you're like filming them do something, you're like, what? Like, if you just really take a step back and look at it for what it is, you're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, especially the silly stuff. Right?
Yeah.
That is a good perspective. One of the best lines when Bretman Rock, do you know Bretman Rock?
No.
He's like this super famous kid, Filipino kid from Hawaii, well, from the Philippines, but he's like the biggest person from here. But basically what he said is like, at the end of the day, we're just adults on our phones.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
So that's like the same perspective. It's like if you take a step back, like we're just like filming each other doing like silly stuff, right?
Yeah, it looks ridiculous.
That's funny. I was just asked to, I don't do any acting. I was just asked to audition for this new show on Fox coming out. So I might have to ask you for some tips.
Yeah, for sure.
I never had an interest in acting, but I'm always open to opportunities.
Absolutely.
So, I just act like myself, so it's easy. Okay, Tumua_23 ask, do you see yourself filming more API stories here in Hawaii?
Yes, as many as I can.
And we talked about it a little bit before the break as well. Nice. And so is it more so about finding the right story or finding the right people to work with?
No, there's incredible people to work with here. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's like the story, like what is going to service like all the facets of what I feel are appropriate, And there's so many stories to tell, but I think it's like, again, like right now it's hard to like get money to make stuff.
Yeah. All right, cool. Good answer. This next question comes from Anonymous. She said, don't tell my name because I'm embarrassed. Because the question is, where the hell have you been, Loca?
Loca?
Do you know what that's from?
Loca. Why didn't she just tell me her name?
Well, okay. I'll expose her because it's my sister. Okay, this comes from Kanoe Lehua, my younger sister. She said she's a big Twilight fan.
Oh.
So I guess this is, I didn't know what it meant. I was like, what does that mean? And she said it's from Twilight.
Twilight.
Unless is Loca in autocrack, or is it supposed to be something else?
Where the hell have you
I'm gonna
been?
guess it's a line you said in Twilight. Where have you been, Loca?
Where have you been?
The girl's name was Bella, right?
Yeah.
So
maybe it's Bella.
maybe it's Bella and it got corrected to
Yeah, maybe. I don't remember that line though.
That's a very specific line.
Yeah. Well, there's like two lines people always like say back to me is it's La Push. It's La Push, and then also it's a worm. But where the hell have you been, Loca? I don't know.
Or Bella. Maybe?
Bella, where the I was working on the feature. Like I think I there's a line I go, the feature's dead, Angela. I think that's a line, but
okay.
Maybe it's, I don't know.
Well, Kanoe, you have no idea what you're talking about. You're disowned from our family. You just embarrassed yourself. You embarrassed me in front of Justin, Kanoe, all right? And all the Twilight fans out there.
Yeah, no. There's no way you could be more embarrassed than me right now.
So do you have roles that you're like, why did I do that?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, man. I mean, I won't even say them because I don't want people to look them up.
Yeah. But I mean, Twilight, that was like your first big break though, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first break that actually like materialized. It's funny actually. Like I thought I was gonna blow up from this other film that I I was in one of the climactic scenes with Cliff Curtis.
Mm.
It was called Crossing Over, and it was like Harvey Weinstein produced it. He's no longer around, but like it was like Sean Penn, Ray Liotta, Harrison Ford,
Wow.
Ashley Judd, Jim Sturgis, Alice. It was like the who's who, Josh Gad, like the who's who at the time. And I was the lead of my storyline. It was kind of like Crash, where like different storylines converge. And it just, I think, I don't know exactly what happened, but it got shelved. I thought that was before Twilight. It didn't hit. But I've done like so many dumb movies, you know. I even like the name, like I did a movie called Balls Out, Gary the tennis coach with, you know, the guy who plays Stifler from American Pie.
Yeah.
Sean William Scott.
Yeah.
Like I've done so many, before Twilight, I did so many things that just never hit.
Huh.
But I think Twilight was a one. But that's what's the funny thing is Twilight, nobody knew it was going to be that big.
Mm.
When we shot it, it was like an independent film. It was...
No way, really?
Yeah, it was like Summit was a small studio and Catherine Hardwicke did smaller films, but they were awesome films like 13 and Lords of Dogtown. Kristen Stewart was more of a really like incredible indie actress. She had just done Into the Wild.
Wait, Kristen Stewart
Yeah.
from SNL?
No, Kristen Stewart.
Oh, Kristen Wiig. I'm thinking Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
Kristen Stewart from Twilight. Yeah.
And yeah, so nobody knew. Like when I went to that premiere, like I drove myself. I went there with my sister and we were walking through Brentwood to Westwood and walking to the theater and we're like, why is it so crowded here? We didn't even think that was for the premiere. And then we got close to the red carpet and it was like I almost couldn't even get on the red carpet because it was like so crowded. There was like thousands of people there. And I was like, what? I was so confused.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a total surprise. Twilight, I had no idea that was going to be such a big deal.
Yeah, I remember watching it in 10th grade, I think,
Yeah.
maybe in the theaters.
It's like Star Wars for girls.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And then you had the whole Edward versus Team Jacob.
Yeah.
It just became this whole thing.
I was just like, well, I really enjoyed
Star
that.
Wars for girls.
Yeah. But
That's so funny.
I will say this though. I really enjoyed that experience because it made me really understand what I wanted out of acting and art. Because I saw how famous those three got, you know, and I realized that wasn't being famous was not something that was of value to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more like, what kind of art do I want to make? That experience really opened my eyes to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I can totally see that.
yeah,
But you are kind of famous.
not really.
I think that just comes with the territory.
I make stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So next question comes from Kobe Bryant fan. How was it working on Jamo Jaya? But I guess we kind of already talked about that.
Yeah,
If
I
you
loved
wanna add
it.
Anything else? Yeah.
I really loved it. My favorite thing was we have this long, like a one which is basically like an unbroken take that we shot at the Republic, that concert venue, and it was like really fun and like something I was like seeing in my head for a while, like shooting that sequence, and we rehearsed a bunch and and we shot during COVID, so it was really hard to get that many people in one place and get it cleared by, you know, the COVID supervisor and all that. So that was really, really fulfilling and fun. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, keep us updated how we can watch that.
Yeah.
Just follow him on Instagram or something. Okay. This is another Twilight question. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You can ask Twilight questions the rest of the time.
Underscore Kelstagram. His favorite memory from being in Twilight. There's no memories.
I wiped the hard drive clean. I mean, it was like the first one was really fun because everybody just hung out together.
Mm-hmm.
So hanging out and, you know, just horsing around, I think was a lot of good memories. I guess during the shoot, what was the most kind of fun thing was, you know, everybody loves that moment actually where I'm like, it's a worm, and I put a worm in Bella's face, and like Catherine Hardwicke was just really loose. She just was like open to me doing anybody doing whatever. So I didn't tell anyone I was going to do that. We were just supposed to, they just told us to stand around this planter, and I was playing with the stick, and there was a worm that was like in the dirt, and I just picked it up, and during the take, while she was walking by, I was like, it's a worm. And I didn't get in trouble. Like, they're cool with it. It wasn't in the script. That was fun.
Improv.
Improv.
Right there. All right. And then the follow-up question from the same person. But seriously, what is he learning as a new Hawaii resident / how is life currently influencing his work?
Let me think. I want to give a different answer than what we've already talked about. I think
one thing that I noticed from the last 2 films I just watched was that you played like a father figure, and you're a father.
Yes.
So that's something that I'm kind of seeing.
Yeah. Gook, I wasn't married too long, so that was just more of a coincidence. But Blue Bayou, I wrote that while my wife was pregnant. But it's almost like doing that is cathartic because it makes you really think about your own parents, and it thinks about like the kind of parent or, you know, nurturer you are. So I think that's maybe subconsciously. But I do think living in Hawaii, the biggest thing that's changed in terms of my lifestyle with work is finding more of a balance. You know, really taking care of my family, taking care of my body, and I really have to make space for friends and family instead of just doing work over everything. Because when I was living in LA, it was really like that. It was like nothing mattered except for my work. And I don't think that is full. You feel like you live a full life at the end of the day. So living here, you know, I just see what matters to other people, and it's not just work. You know, it's like really it's about community and, you know, your family and you know, just like taking a break once in a while.
Yeah. Being okay with doing nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I've learned as well, because I work a lot, and like now I've gotten to a point where I'm like, it's okay if I want to watch a TV show. It's okay if I want to go surf.
Yeah.
You know?
Doing nothing is hard.
It is.
It's hard, but that is something I've learned here. Like literally, my wife will want to go to the beach, just walk. You know, we do it. We either go beach or walk, like try to do it once a day, like with the whole family. And like before I used to be so anxious. I'd be like, no, I gotta, and I constantly checking my phone, blah, blah, blah. And now everything off. Nobody can contact me, and I just like try to be present with my family. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that exact feeling. Like when I used to be with my girlfriend, she'd also want to go walk, whatever. I'm like, I don't want to walk. It's so boring.
Yeah.
I don't get to just walk.
Yeah.
It's like, walk and talk. We can talk over here. Yeah. Like, what? What's up? Like, girls are walking.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's sort of like, go to the beach. I'm like, if I go to the beach, I want to surf.
Exactly.
I want to do something.
She's like, no, let's just sit. I'm like, sit? What?
Yeah. I
just
get it. Some people are just simple. And that's awesome. I just, sometimes us guys, we just need something to like destroy or crush or I don't know, just do something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, last question comes from Nahaku_N_Haukela. What is the best lesson you learned after a failure?
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah.
Because I failed a lot, and I think that's what's interesting about social media is when is anyone talking about their failures? You know, and you know, you're just saying, oh yeah, you're in the public or whatever, but I don't talk about my failures that often, but I've had tons. But I'm not scared to talk about them. I think it's very important. I'll tell you right now, like even Jamujaya, I really forced that into existence. I really tried to push it through because, you know, a lot of filmmaking is just trying to make it happen. It's so hard. And I had this opportunity in this window, you know, after Gook, you know, it did well. And, you know, at Sundance, it got this award. And so like the world kind of opened up a little bit and people were willing to give me opportunities to make films. And so within 5 years, within like 7 years, I made 5 films and 2 TV shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's unheard of. And I think that by the time I got to Jamujaya, I was pushing so hard, and I don't think I was like, talking about kind of taking a second and doing nothing. I think that's important, and I should have maybe, because I would have been more conscious of intention. Like, why am I had intention. I knew I was making the film, but you start to get so caught up in what you're doing that there's not enough self-reflection. So with Jamujaya, I think it was at all expense, any way possible, get it done. And I got it done, and I'm on the other side of it now, and I don't feel like I want to rush my next few things. I want to take the time and make sure that I spend the appropriate amount of, thought and leave a little bit of room for my patience to like come up with even more deeper ideas. And that's what I learned from that experience. But I've learned from every single film. Also, I think something in filmmaking that is hard to talk about is being a director. You're in a position of power, and I think that like I've always been try to be considerate of the people I work with and around, but to take a moment and always understand that it's still like we're talking about silly. It's just so like it doesn't have to be where you have to get like so crazy about it. Yes, of course, like you want it to be good, but is there, and I'm still working on this, is there a way to still have, deal with the stress, deal with the time crunch, but still have like an incredibly good attitude? And to me now, as I progress, that to me feels like the attainment of being a pro. Is if I can deal with all the pressure, but still have a really good attitude and treat people with kindness and respect while still making something great and that we're all proud of, I think that's what I'm working towards. So that's through the failures, I think that's become more and more and more clear to me. Yeah.
Awesome answer. Yeah. I mean, just reflecting on anything in life is so good. And it's just hard to get those moments of peace to reflect when you got so much on, especially being a dad, a husband.
Yeah.
So I guess, like you said, you have to, you intentionally put time out of your day to work on something, and, maybe you can reflect during that times or on drives or whatever. It's like these small little moments of peace that we all just have to find.
But also giving the just as much of that time to my family, so that like I'm working on those relationships too, and it's not just like take it for granted.
Yeah. So you even learn from those failures as as a family man.
Yeah, because even being married, I mean, I've had so many failures as a husband, even, and I think all the failures, it really does like translate to everything you do, not just like your personal life does affect like how you operate it in your work life too. So
definitely. Yeah. Awesome. Well, mahalo everybody for the social media fan questions. Make sure you leave some for our next guest, and maybe a question will make it on the podcast. All right, so we're coming to the end of the podcast, and one of the questions I love to ask all of my guests is, what does keeping it aloha mean to you? It's the name of the show. Got it right there. So look at those words and tell us like how in your life, how do you keep it aloha?
Yeah. Let me think about this. Well, you know how you're talking about haole? That's ha and ole. Like aloha is face and breath, right?
So yeah, that's one of the I don't know if it's a misconception, but it's people use it to like
alo and ha.
Yeah, which I heard that it's not always correct because so there's a lot of different accounts of aloha. I love the idea behind it because it's so beautiful. Yes, you're sharing alo, sharing ha.
Yeah. Well, I mean, aloha in general is like, more specifically, is something that like it's hard for people not from Hawaii to grasp and understand, I think, like in terms of, because it's like it's not just one, it's like there's so much aspects to it, right? And I think there's words in every language that don't quite translate. I for Korean, there's like this idea of like Chon, right? Which is like the affinity, like brotherhood or affinity to a fellow human. And there's not quite like a feeling or, a word that directly translates in English. And I feel like keeping it aloha is, what it means to me is, it's more of like a spirit of, what it means to be a part of the community in Hawaii, and loving one another. And, I think I love that because it's like, it's so flippantly thrown around, especially in like pop culture. Like, sometimes people just say aloha, and they don't
It's
even
commercialized.
Yeah, it's very commercialized. And I think living here, it's so much more. And I think that what I love about it is that there's this sense of like love always, and that you're leading with that. So like the first thing you saying is something, a term of endearment that I think, you start the interaction like that is like such a loving, beautiful way to, so keeping it aloha is like just keeping it within that space of love, I think.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. That's such a like a simple way to look at aloha is just love, because like that's the main meaning, love.
Yeah.
Aloha voia oe, I love you. So when you're greeting somebody like aloha, you're saying love.
Yeah.
And that's so
Yeah,
kind.
Yeah. And starting conversation,
Yeah.
like, when you meet someone, aloha, and then you have a conversation, it's like such a beautiful way to start anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Great answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So what is some advice that you want to give to kids coming up in the film industry, whether that's writing, directing, or just trying to follow their dreams to pursue anything?
Yeah. I have two pieces of advice for when you're starting and when you start to have an understanding of what you're doing. I think when you're starting, you have to try everything. You literally have to just be an open vessel and try to take in information from everybody, zero ego, and just be like, and this is controversial, but like, even if it means working for free, like have humility, just knowing that you don't have the bankable skill set yet. So it's like going and be like, hey, I'd love to learn from you, and and really listening and taking it in and just working hard, right? And I think sticking to it. Most people, they go, yeah, I gave it a year, I gave it 2 years. No. If it's something that like you really are passionate about, look at it more like a lifestyle rather than like a goal, right? So it's just what you do, and it's part of your identity, So me, I'm a creator, I'm a filmmaker, I'm an actor, all those things, and it's just what I do. I wake up and I do that. And slowly I think you'll start to figure out like what works for you, and what your place is in the industry, and listen to that. And then once you get going and you start to really get some momentum, I think the second piece of advice is do what it is that you're supposed to be doing on this earth with your entire heart and singularly focused. So I feel like a lot of people go, I'm this, I'm that. I'm like, no. But what is the one thing that you're supposed to do, right? I can act, I can direct, I can do all of it, right? But like my main thing right now is I'm writing a script. So that's all I'm doing. And until like I am done with that journey and I'm proud of it, like I shouldn't be trying to do 20 things at one time.
Which happens a lot.
That's what most people do. And you cannot be good at 20 things at all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, Japanese people have ikigai, or like, they have this Like, what's the one thing? And I think there's power in that. I think people think about it as sacrificing everything else. Like you sacrifice, say it's money, or you sacrifice being the main person, fame, or you sacrifice like another parallel job, but don't think of it like that. It's what you gain from focusing on one thing, the mastery of one thing, and I think when you look at the people who are the best at what they do, most of them, like Kobe Bryant fan, dude, that motherfucker, like up at 4 a.m. club, and he is just on the court before everybody, practicing hours before anyone shows up, and he dedicated his entire life to that one discipline. That when he left and he was done, he gave it, like there was nothing to be, left for him to do. He was done, and in my opinion, when I looked at him, he felt very fulfilled and content. It didn't feel like because he was so hyper focused on one thing. He wasn't trying to be a rapper and a basketball, because you see that, and it's like he was just so And those are the type of artists that I truly respect, because it's so beyond that 10,000 hour theory that it's like they become singular. That's what I would say is like the second phase of that.
That's great. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got my hands in a lot of other things, but I'm always just like, let's focus on one. Like the podcast is what I mainly focus on, and I do other stuff. And then I have friends like starting this, trying to do this, do the podcast, do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm noticing that too. It's just like, maybe just stick to one thing, do it really, really well.
Yeah.
And then, once that's kind of more like automated, or, you kind of, you can free up some bandwidth to do other stuff.
Yeah.
And then you can go into it.
Because until like your 30s, like just experience it all, but then once you like start to be like, okay, like let me choose a path. Because I started directing at 33. I think I was 32 or 33, that first one. And I didn't direct the second one right away, but I was starting to be like, okay, what kind of life do I want to have? And that also dictated, like, I was like, okay, well, I don't know if I can live in hotels, like in 4 different cities every year if I want to have a family possibly. So like, I was like, okay, I got to start like narrowing it down. What can I, and for me, the directing, I had a very strong perspective of what I wanted to do in my perspective on the stories I wanted to tell. Like, so I just started to narrow it down, and then I was like, it doesn't mean like if someone invites me to go act, I think I'd entertain it, but like my main, I'm so hyper focused on writing and directing now that I think I feel very fulfilled.
I love that.
Yeah.
I call everything outside of like my main things side quests now.
It's just like a
side quest.
It's like my side hose.
Yeah. the side chick. But this is the main dish and side dishes, however you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, man. But you got the main dish, and you went to the restaurant to get that main dish, man. Yeah.
And like the side dishes are good. They're not gonna fill you up, but it's good to have a little taste.
It's a little taste. It's a little poo-poo, Like,
but you need that main dish to fill you up.
Yeah. To really get satiated.
I love it. Yeah. Okay. What is one thing you wish people knew about you that they don't?
That I'm actually like incredibly introverted. I really enjoy just being home alone, and that's why I love film. It's it's a communal experience in a theater, but also it's also such a personal, individual thing. I think acting was a way of getting outside of myself. It felt very exhilarating that I was being applauded for being so extroverted and whatever. But I think I've always been, when I was little, I had a really tough time. I was very shy. And it was very hard for me to express how I truly felt. And I think acting was like almost like a mask that I can wear and then be. But as now I'm 42 and I'm, I'm not young anymore. I start to understand that now even that, I want to shed that. So I don't want to say or act in a way that I don't feel is authentic to me. And I think I have the confidence now. But I think there's this idea, especially like, you're talking about the YouTube days or whatever and I think during that time, it's just like acting out, just like very flamboyant and that's all just a sort of like protection suit. And I think what I'd like for people to know is that, it's through experience. I mean, there's no shortcut, but I think that it's okay just to do you, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it's acting in public.
Yeah.
Because I'm the same. I love being alone. That's why I love the podcast, because even though we seem very extroverted here, we're just talking like just one-on-one conversation. One of the best quotes I just saw recently is that a lot of people think they're introverted, but you're not actually introverted. You just like your peace. So you're extroverted around people that bring you peace.
Yeah. I could see that because around my friends, I just have so much peace. I don't feel any fear of judgment or whatever. But if I go to a party where I know no one, man,
same.
I feel so awkward. I get such a sick feeling that I almost disappear into myself.
Yeah. I usually just gravitate toward like one person and just like have a side conversation.
Yeah. Sometimes even that's hard if you really don't know anyone.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
So, I think that's something but I love that. You're not introverted. You're extrovert.
You just love your peace.
You just love your peace, and you're extrovert around people who give you peace.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, something that I've been thinking about.
Yeah.
Recently. Awesome. Well, great answer. So before we finish the podcast, I gotta know, what is your life hack? If you have one for us today.
I think it is that. It's focusing on one thing. I think people think that doing all these things get you places faster. Actually, the life hack is if you focus on one thing at a time and you work on it till it gets done, one thing at a time, it's actually way faster. It's such an illusion to do 3 things at one time and think that you're doing it faster. You're not. It's like hyper focus at one thing at a time. Boom, 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 boom. That goes for anything.
Yeah.
Even like bills.
It's the 80. That's so true, because at home I'm just like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here.
Yeah.
Do this, do this.
But like say laundry, like it's like sometimes you have like a laundry basket and you do one load and then you get distracted. But you seem to never get down to the bottom of the basket. You just have to sit there and just get it done. And it's actually faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez, you're calling me out on the laundry. Sometimes I can never get to the bottom of the basket.
No, because that happens to me. And I'm like, dude, no, but I tell my wife, I'm like, dude, just keep doing every load. And once it goes in the dryer, throw all of it on the couch. And we'll be forced to fold it all. But like, she does one load. And I'm like, oh my God, where's my fucking socks? How come I only have one pair of underwear? Fuck, man. Where that? And I'm like, man. Oh my God. And I dig, and I'm like, oh, but it's all.
Very relatable.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. These are my last fast 5 questions. They're just rapid fire answers. All right. Favorite way to decompress?
Go to the ocean.
Nice. Favorite post-shoot snack?
Hot pot.
Hot pot. Nice.
Yeah.
Anywhere specifically in Hawaii?
I love Hot Pot Heaven.
What heaven? Where's that?
It's Macaulay Plaza.
Okay.
They one have and one in Kailua.
Okay. Yeah. It's just driven past it. Favorite food in Hawaii? Doesn't have to be Hawaiian food, just the food. Any of the
dried aku.
Oh, nice. Like homemade, or you buy it from some?
Yeah. Homemade. Buy it like it's the best with beer.
Okay. Favorite TV show / movie?
TV show / movie. Step Brothers.
Oh, great. Do we just become best friends?
I love that film.
So many good quotes from that. Yeah. Okay. Favorite travel destination?
Hawaii.
Outside of Hawaii.
Yeah, outside of Hawaii. Paris.
Oh, Paris.
You know why? Because it's a different. It's not aloha. It's everybody just like mind your own business. It's just like you can really be private.
Yeah.
Like no one really care. Like they're not in your business.
Oh, that's
And it's a beautiful city, and and I got engaged there.
Oh, so it's close to your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's all we have for you today. I just want to say mahalo so much for coming in, talking
thank
stories.
you.
Awesome meeting you.
Yeah, likewise.
Is there anything you want to share before we wrap up? If not, tell us where we can find you.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. If you see me around the island, say hi. You know,
This isn't your classmate from Kalani High School or Iolani. This is Justin Chon, everybody.
Yeah. I'm around. I'm walking around Kakako all the time. But say hi, and you can find me on my Instagram. I don't have Twitter anymore. I got rid of it. But and it's just my name, Justin Chon. But yeah, thanks for having me, and I'll see you on the island.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll see you at F45. Or
I gotta come.
Barrel.
Do the cold plunge.
Yeah. Just let me know. Well, mahalo, Justin, for joining us on the Keep It Aloha podcast. Spread love, be kind to one another, and mahalo for listening to us today. We have new episodes every Thursday, so make sure you follow us and leave a review. I'm your host, Kamaka. Remember to always keep it aloha.
Cheers.
Right on.
Thank you,
awesome. Thank you.